Hi everyone, we're on episode 6 today of Talking Business here on Mapado's Business YouTube channel. Today we're going to the USA where we've got the enthusiastic entrepreneur Emma. This is a great one. Enjoy. Okay, hi everyone. We've got Emma joining us today. We've gone international. So good morning to you, Emma.
Morning.
Morning. So whereabouts in the world are you, Emma?
I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Fantastic. And who are you and what's your job title?
I'm just a girl trying to save the earth from single-use plastic and make people more aware. So my job is I'm the CEO of a company called Final, and we make products that replace single-use plastic and serve to increase awareness about the environmental impact of waste on the environment.
Sure. So nothing too big then, just saving the planet and, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say saving the planet because the planet will persist regardless of whether we're here or not.
Yeah.
I think it's about treating it like it's our one and only home, treating it with care, stripping away the greed in, resource extraction and use, and just kind of changing the way people look at waste because, everything we buy comes in single-use wrappers and a lot of things. And those things, have value. And so, in an economic sense, we're assigning a zero value to something that takes resources, costs money, uses labor, and transport fuel. And that's kind of backwards how I see it.
Yeah, I can feel your passion for what you do coming through just from a couple of sentences chatting to you. Has that always been in you, that passion, or has that come from college, or as we would call it, university? Did you study a similar thing to this at college or university?
So in university, I studied neuroscience, and but I guess I've always been a pretty passionate person. I don't know if you've ever looked at Enneagrams, but I'm a 7, which is the enthusiast.
Okay.
And so, pretty much everything I do with a lot of enthusiasm, and I was very interested in neuroscience in terms of, how people's brains work. It's such a fascinating universe inside our heads that is not very well understood or explored. But I started to kind of realize that the work environment I was going to be in, if I continued down that path, would either be working in a research laboratory or a hospital, neither of which sounded very appealing. So while I was in university, I was working with some girlfriends and just raising awareness around single-use plastic, doing beach cleanups, dressing up like mermaids, and going to city council meetings. And it was really fun. And it was just like not that much effort put in to make a big impact. And so I thought, what if I actually focus more of my time here? What kind of impact can I really make? And seems like it's worked so far.
Oh, that's good to know. And in terms of impact then, so I haven't seen my students for a while because of COVID-19, but I remember when I was at college and I used to try and do recycling and things. I would do a program called Dan's Cans where we would do recycling and things like that. And it was always such a challenge for many of the students to get them interested. There was this mindset of, what can I do? I'm only little old me, these people who, we don't get to travel that much. So what would you say to these people who feel almost helpless and that it's pointless? Because that's a conversation I had a lot. But what is the point? Why bother? Why can't I just go to McDonald's or whatever it is, have my plastic straws and my junk food containers, throw them wherever I want to? It's no big deal. I'm only one person. What would you say to our students who have got that kind of mindset?
Well, what I would say to them is I've felt that way too.
Yeah.
I felt helpless and like it doesn't matter what I do, and that I'm just one little person. So I get it. It's a real feeling, and I think we feel that way in a lot of situations, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. But then I would also remind them that I am just one person, and so far our company has removed over 350 million plastic straws from entering the environment.
Wow.
So, and you never know how your behavior is going to impact another person. You never know how what you say will inspire others. Mm-hmm. And so, our voices are really powerful, and we have a lot of power to impact those around us and use our platforms, whether it is, just friends and family or social media, to spread what we believe in. So it's not just about, doing the right action, which is of course very important. It's about, upholding what you believe in with action. And so if you believe that this is, a special place that we live in, and we should, minimize our damage on it for ourselves, for our health, for, overall financial gain, for future generations, it doesn't really matter why you want to uphold this idea. It's just that you do it, and that you spread that to others.
Well, that's what a powerful message. I hope that, well, I know that will sink in with some of them, and I'll make sure they listen to this, and it does. So how has the last few months been different for you? Then obviously everybody I've spoke to on here have had their own challenges. People working in the hospitality industry, very different to education. But for yourself, how's the last few months been different for Final Straw, or has it?
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone's lives have changed in one way or another. To be honest, my day-to-day is pretty similar. We were a remote company before COVID hit. I guess I used to like going to the grocery store, and now it's weird. So that's been a change. But in terms of business, we've definitely seen a hit to sales. We're right now, we're a one product company. We sell a reusable travel straw, and traveling isn't top of mind. But in terms of the kind of positives that have come out of it, I think we've really been able to use our platform to kind of spread information on how we function as a remote team. Since we've been doing it for 2 years, we've gotten pretty good at it. And so as all of these other companies are shifting to remote, we've been able to provide our expertise in that sense. I think the other kind of like larger scale benefit of everything that's going on is COVID is kind of the first time the world has felt united. Every single person is being affected by it in one way or another. And, we're all in it together. And what a cool feeling to feel connected to every single person, even though it is, for this very intense and sad situation, but yet we're all affected. Doesn't matter your socioeconomic background, your race, religion, location, anything. It's everyone. So that's kind of the cool bit, I guess, and how I've been pushing through the hard times by looking at that and seeing the beauty in that.
And definitely there are, that is a positive that, I have heard briefly, but to hear you speak about it like that, how far away we are, but both our lives have changed, and my students, how different I am to them, but the conversations and communications that I've had with them, their lives have changed as well. And it is interesting to see that. So you mentioned this idea of remote working. Was that a conscious decision when you started the organization, or is that just something that happened naturally when you were looking at getting the best people to work for you?
It was a combination of both. I like to travel a lot. I don't want to be in an office. I want to work from wherever I want and travel and go on a hike in the middle of the day if I want. And I want my employees to feel the same way. So, it's kind of like a certain type of person that wants that lifestyle. And I think that is actually growing. You're seeing, a larger percentage of people wanting flexible working situations. And so, I just designed this company based on what I want. And I don't want to be stuck in an office and do the 9 to 5. So it's also a nice little fantasy that may not last forever. There's a good chance that, we'll have to at least have a couple offices or like hubs with the employees, because, there is something to be said about working together and working with everyone. And right now, the way we've been doing that is having biannual retreats where
Okay.
you know, the whole team gets together and, you know, works together for a long weekend.
Mhm. That sounds fun. So, and again, with your organization, man, and your kind of personality that seems to come through that, it seems if you have a quick look at your, you know, the Final Straw website and social media, there is an element of fun. You know, the stickers that you sell, I won't say some of the words that are kind of blanked out in that, I'm sure my students have heard them. But, you know, in terms of your personality coming through your organization, how important has social media been for you then in terms of growing your business and connecting with your customers and keeping it fresh and something that customers can kind of attach to? Is social media played a big part of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point on the brand voice, like the whole, you know, voice is based around what I want to hear. I don't want to hear another, you know, environmental organization talking about how we're destroying the earth and all the people are doing the wrong thing and, you know, we need to change. It's like, it's depressing. It's not exciting. I want to see funny memes that inspire me to make changes and, you know, like, I think we can do this in like a fun way. It doesn't have to be this kind of granola, you know, old school, crunchy, tree hugging sort of way. Not that I don't hug trees, because I do,
Yeah.
but like, how do we redefine environmentalist instead of being this kind of extremist person to being just someone who's practical? Like, okay, this is our one planet. Let's treat it well. Like, is that an extreme belief? I don't think so. I think it's just practical.
Yeah, sure.
And then, you know, in terms of social media, it's huge. I mean, any brand with any sort of following utilizes social media to, you know, spread their message. And, you know, obviously for us, that is a mission-based message
Mhm.
and spread awareness. So, you know, a big thing at Final is that we're not just trying to sell straws. You know, if I tried for a very long time to just get people to stop using straws. And I thought for so long that if I could just get everyone to stop using straws, I could get them to stop using other things. But that's really hard. It's really hard to get people to completely stop doing something they really like. There's people out there, they just love straws. Like you can't tell them not to love straws. They do. So instead, focus on providing practical, convenient, sexy, badass solutions that people want to do and want to, you know, share with their friends.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of how we try and use our platform, is to spread awareness in a fun and engaging and relatable way that doesn't tell anyone they're, you know, pointing fingers and saying you're doing this wrong. It's about uplifting, joining together as a team so that we can all do this together, because that's the only way it'll happen.
Yeah, and that really comes across in the things I've read and seen about Final Straw. And I know for some of our students, it's very much so in terms of advertising over here that we are terrible people, we are doing terrible things, there's a guilt associated with it. And I think that immediately puts up the barriers to some of our students where they can be told off just for living their lives and just for doing everything they've always done for the last 10, 15 years. So that positivity, you know, definitely needs to be in more businesses.
And ultimately, it's not really the consumer's fault. You know, this dates back for you know, decades of misinformation where companies are creating ad campaigns to make it seem like it's the consumer who's at fault.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if you get an Amazon box and it's full of plastic and materials that are just going straight to the trash can, is that your fault or is that Amazon's fault? You know, like it's Amazon's fault.
Yeah.
And so really, you know, what we do as an organization is promote this kind of like bottom up change by providing awareness and information to people, but then also really working on policy, because that is where we're really going to be able to shift the needle in a big way. By putting pressure on big companies to be responsible for the waste that they create on a daily basis. It's really the only way that things are really going to shift. But you need them both together. You need consumers demanding the change, and then you need, you know, policy and legislation in place to demand for extended producer responsibility, which, you know, holds companies accountable for everything that they produce from cradle to grave.
Yeah, and again, that's something the general consumer, definitely the ones I speak to, the ones I teach as consumers, that's not really links that they make. But when you get stuck into it from a
Yeah.
business perspective, then you have to
The
think about it.
the entire litter bug, if you've ever heard the word litter bug,
Mm.
that was invented by the beverage industry.
Okay.
So Coca-Cola and Pepsi all came together because there was, this huge issue of people when they switched from glass to plastic and no longer had a bottle deposit, people were just littering on the side of the road. And it was creating, all of these issues. And so they started the Keep America Beautiful campaign, which basically put the onus on the consumer to not litter. And it's like, if you throw a bottle out of your window, like, yeah, you're littering, but like, who created that bottle and why is it there? And where is their responsibility? They're not the ones paying tax dollars to clean it up. They're not the ones, paying for recycling facilities to turn it into something new. They're just making all the profit. So, I think, back to that first question you asked of like, I'm just one person, what can I do? We can all lobby for legislation and real systemic change on that level.
Yeah. And let's hope that maybe if we are all a bit more together and on the same page as a community, then that's something that can come out in the next years, however long it takes. Well, where does Final Straw go next then? I was having a look on your website, and obviously the straws are your main thing. You've got cutlery as well, is that right? And has COVID changed the direction that you're heading in, or are you still on the same path, but maybe at a different rate?
Yeah, so we've got the Final Straw, which is our flagship product. We're working on Final Fork and Final Spork, which will be coming out mid-July. We created a product called Final Wipe, which is a reusable sanitizing wipe that you can use at home or on the go to sanitize surfaces or just replace single-use paper products. And yeah, we've got a lot of other really fun projects that we're working on, and we'll be making lots of announcements soon. So make sure to check us out on social media. There's cool stuff coming out.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely push for students towards that. That's really interesting, especially the wipes, and I'm sure there'll be a big market for them in the next few months. As we start to get towards the end of this then, if it's all right with you, I'll ask a few questions about yourself and advice that you might have. I know that over here we get a lot of, or we did before COVID, I should say, stories about the gender pay gap, discrimination. We have rules and regulations and laws which prevent discrimination and different treatment of people based on their race and their gender. Have you, as a CEO of an organization, have you ever experienced discrimination? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I have. It was so weird because it was with a reporter who was reporting on a situation with the company, and it was like they couldn't listen to my story and report on it accurately. And I mean, the only reason I can think of that is that because I was a female and the person on the other end of the story was a male. It was weird because I've never felt judged for being female. I've always felt like I've, kind of been able to just hold my own. And it's tough because you feel really powerless in those situations where it's like nothing that you say or do is going to change anything because this person is very set in their mindset.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I've learned a lot in the last week with everything going on in the States. It's just been total craziness here. And so I've had a lot of conversations on social media with people who, had a problem with how I put out a message or, and been able to turn those conversations into something constructive.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's necessarily always possible to change people's minds, but by listening to people and making sure that they feel heard, and then, coming at it, the situation from a place of resolution of like, how can we make this better? How can I show you that I care about what you're saying? And these are total strangers on the internet that I'm doing this with, and it's working. We're going from a place of like, they're upset and I'm upset to like, oh, hey, I understand your perspective and how can we come to common ground? So I think it's just about listening and coming at the situation, wanting to resolve it and be accommodating to the other person.
And is that an ethos that you have in your teams as well, in the teams that you manage, that openness to be able to talk, to discuss, that, if there are any other issues, then you can sort those out? Is that kind of how you kind of run the business as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's so important to me to have a team full of people that are able to speak their mind in a constructive way. Especially since we're all remote, communication is not easy. It's like someone can type something to you and it feels like an attack, where if they just said it in a different tone, it would feel fine. Yeah. So, there's just a lot of work that you have to do when you're remote to ensure people are feeling heard and seen and understood and respected. And, it's constant. It's not like you just do it once and it's done. It's kind of constant team building. And the way we do that is by, work isn't just about work. It's not like we just show up, do our work and leave. We have like Slack channels for pet pics. So people are posting pictures of their pets. And we have, team meetings where we do silly icebreakers like never have I ever. And so I think that there's ways you can kind of infuse the fun and excitement and bonding, even online, which once you're bonded with someone and feel close and connected, then the question around intent when a message is sent that might come off wrong is not as big of a question, because that person is coming from a caring, loving place.
Yeah, I might have to borrow some of those ideas when I start my online teaching and things. Do
it.
Yeah, really interesting. So last couple of questions then. For our students I teach are between 16 and 19 years old. And some of them have got some really interesting ideas for little businesses that I would never have thought of. I'm not in their mindset and kind of their upbringing and background and what they've got going on. And they have these fantastic ideas. So what advice would you give for some young entrepreneurs with, crazy ideas that nobody believes in and everybody says, no, just go to university and do the thing and then get the office job? What would you say to people with the ideas?
Well, I'd say that everyone thought I was crazy when I was making a straw and quitting my job at a reputable laboratory. So, don't listen. But test. I think it's really important that you make something that solves a problem. Whatever you're doing, how are you solving a problem? And the thing is, if it's a problem for you and you're solving that problem for you, there's a lot of other people like you out there. So, if you're significantly improving a situation for yourself and something that you do on a regular basis, there's going to be other people out there like that. Yeah. So the way we did it is launched a Kickstarter campaign, which did really well. And that was kind of the market validation. And from there, it was like, just keep building on that. So listen to your gut, stay true to what you believe. Don't design things to work for everyone. Design it to work for a very specific subsection. And otherwise it loses authenticity.
And I saw your Kickstarter raise. Was it $1.8 million that it says on your website? And I guess it's hard then to say that your idea is wrong if you've got that backing.
Exactly.
So last question then, and thank you so much for your time today. And what I always to ask people for the students is, because let's say they're 18, if there was a piece of advice you wish somebody had given to you at 18 and you wish you'd listened to it and really took it to heart and kind of used that as almost as a bit of a mantra for the next few years of their life, what advice do you wish you'd been given, or what kind of secret to the world of work and life do you wish somebody had told you at 18 but you could have listened to?
I mean, that's hard. I was such a jackass at 18. I don't know if anything anyone would have said would have mattered. But I guess follow your passion is the biggest thing. I spent from when I graduated college to when I started working on this idea, I was just doing like little jobs here and there, enough to make enough money to like have fun and party and do whatever. And it's like, you know, now I've been working on this company for 2 years, and I'm like, what if I had started this right out of college? Like, it would be huge. And I have friends that started companies that they were passionate about after college, and they're worth like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think if you're doing something that you don't like and you're not passionate about, you'll never excel, and you'll never go to a level that is beyond kind of the status quo. So do what you love, do what you're passionate about, do what excites you, because it's freaking hard and the hours are long and it's thankless. And you know, if you don't have that kind of deeper reasoning for doing what you're doing, you're going to burn out.
Well, thank you so much for your honesty. You know, I can say that to the students 100 times over, and they'll just go, "Oh, Danny's talking again." So it's nice to hear that, you know, when real people say it, then that'll sink in. So, but thank you so much, and thanks for the time that you've taken to talk to us today, all the way from New Mexico.
For sure.
I hope you stay safe and well over there.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and all the best to Final Straw as well. We look forward to studying more in our lessons and getting stuck in there. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. Take care.
Thank you, Emma. That was fantastic. Really great insight into the world of starting up your own business, and I wish you all the very best in the next stages of Final Straw and all the exciting things to come. Thank you all as well for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and say hello on Twitter at Pardo's Business, and we'll see you all again for Talking Business.